Welcome back to the Scar and Toph show featuring
Toph
and Scar. Some of you may be here after watching Smash Summit, which I'm sure was an insane tournament. Yeah, I mean, I sure hope so. But going into it, Toph, to be honest, I got a funny feeling.
Me too.
What funny feeling do you have? I've got a specific funny feeling.
Oh, you do? Oh, I don't have a specific funny feeling. All right, wait, let me look at. If I stare long and hard enough, I have the list of the players right in front of me. If I stare long and hard enough at this, will I get the funny feeling, do you think?
I think you might. If you think about a funny feeling I would get, you might not get the feeling, but what funny feeling did I get for Smash Summit 9? A funny feeling that I felt before and that I almost forgot how to feel.
I think I feel what you're feeling.
A flame that I thought had died. I kind of got a whiff of something that I felt before. Some blood in the water. Some feeling that Smash Summit 9 might just be a C9 Mango Summit.
I like that.
I got a funny feeling.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
Never
God, this is going to be so anticlimactic if you lost.
I'm just saying, I have a funny feeling.
It's going to be so hype if you won.
Only you know. We sure don't.
Isn't that crazy? Think about all the times you're watching a YouTube video and the person in the video who made the video knows something you don't know. That's like 99% of videos.
Yeah, now it's kind of in my head.
The script has been flipped. We flipped the script. You have all the answers, and we have none.
We only have the questions, but
luckily,
that's our job. Is to have the questions.
Is to have the questions.
As a commentator, you got to know what the question is.
Yeah.
We don't provide the answer. The players do.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's true, right?
It is true.
So, but it might be interesting for a viewer to now, with the information of what actually happened, to recontextualize what we're saying now, right? Because if we're to say that, so last time we finished by saying that 2020 we hit a reset button.
Yeah.
On something.
Yeah.
2020 is a new, Melee is going down a new road.
A new road.
We're not backtracking. We're going forward. A documentary kid is the champion of the world.
Yes.
That is that could be nothing if not a clear statement that we're moving forward as a community.
That's right.
And we hit a reset button, but the question is, what did we hit the reset button on? Because it was not the era of the gods. The era of the gods had ended long before whatever has happened in the past 3 to 4 years.
That's right.
And what we said in the break, what perhaps I said, I mean, I want to know what you think. I don't know if this is what you think, but what I sort of think is that maybe that whole period was the era of the Hungry Box question.
Yeah. It was.
Maybe we went from the era of the 5 gods to the Hungry Box question. And the phrase the Hungry Box question can be interpreted a bunch of ways. And one of the things that you were talking about was, if you didn't beat him, then it's kind of an asterisk on your tournament win.
I think because the players that we respected the most that were not already one of the 5 gods were players like Leffen, players like Plup, who were able to beat HBOX. Plup, when he won Genesis, I think it was
4? 5.
5.
I think 5. There's Mango, Armada. Plup, HBOX, Zane? Plup, HBOX, Zane.
Yeah. He was able to beat HBOX, and that was like the big, right? But all of the big, kind of upheavals in the Melee landscape were framed as so-and-so can beat HBOX. So-and-so can beat HBOX.
It wasn't big news if Mango lost to somebody new.
It wasn't big news, no. That happened
It sure wasn't
often.
huge news.
It wasn't huge news.
When did Armada leave?
Armada left.
This was his last term, maybe 18, late 18?
2017. Well, no. I think SmashCon. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it too.
We're gonna do this research.
We're gonna do the research.
We're gonna figure out when Armada
SmashCon
stopped entering tournaments.
SmashCon 2018. It was Armada versus Beach King.
Ish? Oh yeah, late 18.
August. So that was late 18. Right, because Leffen versus Armada Grand Finals Evo right? Where Leffen beat Armada. That was Evo. And that was an interesting period. Actually, I remember because towards
Which
the end
Evo
of it...
was that? 18?
18. That was 2018. Only 2 years ago. Armada was actually up on Hungrybox in sets. And often it was like Armada would be the guy to beat HBox, but Armada had to get to him. And Armada did worse versus the field than Hungrybox did. Because Leffen was taking sets off Armada. Mango was taking sets off Armada. Mute King started taking sets off Armada sometimes.
Can we find set history easily? What tool would you use to find set history between those two?
That's right. Just Tafo Stats.
Give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot. Tafo Stats.
We're all learning together.
Smash4tips.com, baby. You gotta love smash4tips.com.
Is that really the name of this website? Is that a joke or is it?
It's not a joke. I think Tafo really was. You can get a premium account if you email tafkins@cloud9.gg.
Nice. Manual. I like it.
I don't think Tafo has Tafo at cloud9.gg anymore, probably, but player stats. Head-to-head stats. It has come to my attention that between people hacking the data and people generally being ungrateful of this place and trashing it, that's not a sentence. I'm no longer giving public access to my data anymore. If you want the data lead, admin persons look at it. Come on, Tafo! Wait, you're telling me that on smash4tips.com I can't... Did Tafo want to give people Smash4 tips? Is that what his game plan was?
Maybe. You probably have to email.
We're really getting a look
access.
into the mind of Tafkins right now, aren't we?
All right, so this is a thing that we got to get better at. This is something I think about all the time.
I know it exists.
And I'm going to say, I said this at Genesis, and I think it's true.
Melee stats.
Essentially, we have more information available. Like, okay, the Melee community members are able to produce things that are dope, generally speaking. And the problem is that you can't find the things. It's not that we haven't made things that are great. It's that you can't find them. And I want to fix that somehow. I care a lot about fixing it, like compiling things.
This looks good.
Yeah, this does look good.
This looks good. This goes way back, right? I see Ness versus Youngling, so this must be this must go way back.
So let's look at by year.
This looks good. Hey, look at this. Melee stats. It's melee stats now. We're done with Tafo stats.
Done with Tafo stats. Let's go to sets by year. I want to see 18. I want to see what happened in 18.
This is good. This is good. This is good. All right. Turns out if you Google for it, wow. Yeah. See.
Oh wow, you're right.
But
I
then,
remember.
boom, look at this.
There it is. There it is.
See?
Late 17. I was about to say there's definitely a time when HBox was beating Armada super consistently.
These guys.
And I forgot when it was.
But I'm looking at this page
they can see it.
that you guys can't see that we're gonna put though right here. Right there. And I love that I can just do that with YouTube. And yeah, it looks like they really have like stretches where they're just one's beating the other. Damn, it's always it's fucking 3-2 every time. Wow.
Wow, I can't believe HBox stole that Evo from Armada. Like, look at how much he lost. And he stole Evo 16.
Oh,
Did he win Canada Cup? Who won Canada Cup? Because I can't tell
Armada.
what order this is in.
Armada.
Okay, so he lost pretty much everything and then snatched Evo out.
Christ. He won at Battle of the Five Gods. I remember that was a snatching too. Remember that?
I do.
That came out of nowhere.
It did come out of nowhere.
Shit, HBox won. That actually felt like HBox winning Battle of the Five Gods. And I remember they branded like you're like the one true god. And at the time I was like, HBox is the one true god. Man.
Maybe that was it. Maybe the Battle of the Five Gods was the end of the era. Maybe it was.
Maybe it was.
It's a good. It makes it a nice story.
Who's his name that worked at? Good name. The homie.
The homie.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, he's not one true god, man. Come on. Man.
Come on, man.
Maybe it was, man. Maybe
that was the start of that. Maybe that was the start of the Hungrybox question.
Yeah. Well, this didn't help Hungrybox's case. Towards the end of 2016, where Armada was kind of spanking him, he won Smash Summit 3. Armada won DreamHack Winter 2016. He won UGC Smash Open. He won
I see.
Smash
That
Summit
is the end. Right.
Spring 2017. But it looks like, yeah. Well, I know that 2017, 2018, and 2019 were the 3 years that Hungrybox was ranked #1. So I guess if you want to put it another way, 2017 was when HBox really started whooping everybody. And I mean, he started, I know there was like kind of, there were...
so maybe that's the transition.
That's the transition.
The transition started at the Battle of the Five Gods.
And Hungrybox, if you remember, he started going to everything. He started going to everything because I think he quit his job and he he was like, I'm going to go full-time Melee, and he started going to every freaking tournament. And I think that was a big part of, I think that's when he started rising to the top, was when he was like, he started doing the old school Mutaking thing. You remember Mutaking would just show up in your backyard?
Yeah.
At your Thursday local?
Yeah.
And steal the pot. HBOX started doing that. He went to like 20 tournaments, like 20 weekends in a row or something. I'm making that up. But
who's going to everything?
If you want to get really consistent, go to a lot of tournaments. And it turns out even at that level, I think that had something to do with it. You start going to so many tournaments, it takes the nerves off, you know? You start figuring out, you get really like in touch with your tournament mentality.
You have to do that deliberately too, right?
Yeah, and I think HBOX, he also had Crunch, who I think is probably pretty good at that sort of thing.
Probably. Yeah.
We were talking about how if you have someone who knows you really well.
Yeah.
Right? So
they can call you on your shit.
Right.
They can tell you when you're being lazy.
Yeah.
That is really nice. That's a really good observation, Toph.
Thank you.
How long have they been a team?
A couple years now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Crunch
so anyway.
In NorCal now, of all places. But
so we lost Armada in
2018.
2018.
About a year and a half ago.
He had been beating HBOX every time, except Low Tier City where it was 3-2. He beat Hungrybox 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times out of the 6 in 18.
Which is wild, yeah.
So we lost one of the potential solutions to the Hungrybox question.
That's right. But we gained some others along the way.
Well, that's kind of what the story of I mean, really, right? I mean, that's what the story was for years.
And kind of is in the sense that it still feels like there was even that one Smash Summit where HBOX, he made it out of pools and losers because he lost to AMSA and he lost to Mango's Falco. And it was I remember it very clearly because it was the Marvel themed summit. I think it was Smash Summit 6. It was Marvel themed. And they branded HBOX as Thanos. And then he had his Thanos run through losers where he was snapping fools left and right. Everyone was dying. Everyone was getting knocked out. I think he ended up getting 4th, which is lower than expected for HBOX. But it was like, oh shit. He's taking everybody out. And it still kind of feels that way. You go to tournaments and it's like, ah shit. Like everyone who's in HBOX's path is stressed out.
Yeah. So maybe we're in the transition. Maybe Genesis 2020 was the Battle of the Five Gods.
Could be. It could
turning
be.
point.
Yeah.
Because I do feel that
Zayn smacked everybody at that tournament.
The question was it had a different flavor. It had a different taste in my mouth in 2019, 2018, 2017, where the question was a little desperate.
Yeah. It's like, is this it? Or is it HBOX forever?
Yes, Toph. That was the question. Is this it? Can anyone do it? Like, can anyone come up and challenge this guy? Really?
Yeah, really.
And,
not just one tournament.
Right? Has he figured out Mango? Has he figured out Spaceys? Has he figured everything out? And like, is he ever going to be not #1?
Yeah.
And I think now we're kind of feeling like it's just maybe the question's still being asked, but it's not so desperate.
It's not so desperate.
There's hope.
More people are able to do it. Mango's able to take sets again. Zayn exists.
Yeah. And I wonder how Hungrybox feels about all of it. I mean, I haven't seen the Hungrybox documentary, but
he was saying, I saw him say somewhere at some point that he wanted to be #1. His goal that he set for himself, obviously you can't make your goal to be #1 if you are #1. So his goal that he set for himself was like, I want to be #1 for like as long as possible. He said, I want to be like for now, I think he said something like, okay, I'm going to try to be #1 for 5 years in a row. That'd be crazy. Like, because now it's like the people that you're up against are like Ken and Mango, like people who had long reigns. It's like, okay, well, I want to have a reign for as long or longer than them.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's where he's at, is like, okay, I need to defend this throne. Because that's kind of where he's at. He needs to now have like for him to be the greatest player of all time, he has to have the longest reign and the most dominant reign. So that's being threatened right now. His reign might come to an end.
It is.
His reign might come to an end.
It is.
I don't know, but at the same time, even if he's not winning tournaments right now, it still doesn't feel like there's a single player that's rising above him.
No.
What I mean by that is he's dropping more sets to the field, but it's still him versus the field. It's not him versus, like, so the closest thing really was this stretch in 2018 where Armada was beating him at a bunch of tournaments. Right. And that's like, okay, Armada.
It's him versus Armada.
It's him versus
Armada.
It's not
him versus the
field. And
field.
Armada's winning.
Yeah.
Right?
It's still Hungrybox versus the field. I totally agree.
Still Hungrybox versus the field right now. Yeah. And that's, I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny because like the way this is, if you look at these statistics, it actually almost feels like, well, if Armada I think Armada wasn't doing as well overall. Like if you look at Armada versus Mango in 2018, I think Armada was mostly losing to Mango. Mm-hmm. But if you do, yeah, there's no one is really, there's no single person that is clearly number one right now. I mean, HBOX isn't even clearly number one right now. A lot of HBOX wins in 2019, but a lot of 3-2s. A lot of 3-2s. That's interesting. We're looking at HBOX versus Zane right now.
Yeah. I feel, the 3-1 was a little, that was something.
Zane winning 3-1.
Zane won twice versus Hungrybox.
Yeah.
He beat him on Dreamland.
Yeah. Zane, look at this. Look at this. Look at the way. The set scores matter a lot, actually, because you see the first couple sets, all 3-0.
Boom, 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 boom.
3-0, took a game at Smash last 4. Evo again, 2-0. 3-2.
What happened at Shine?
Boom. Zane goes off. Zane pops off. He wins second set, 3-1. HBOX starts winning, but now.
Wow, so if Zane beats Hungrybox, and if he beats him once, he beats him twice.
It does look that way, doesn't it?
There's no time when Zane beat Hungrybox and didn't have to play him in a second set.
Yeah. Yeah, Zane beats him once, he beats him twice. That's every tournament.
Yeah, 3-1, 3-2.
3-1, 3-2, 3-1, 3-2. Huh. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's just the matchup. Maybe if you're playing, you just have to be playing really, really, really good against Puff. But then if you are playing good against Puff, you can maintain it. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah, Zane's been on the come up, and one of the things that I was talking about with regards to him, we were talking about scarcity. So let's pivot a little bit. Just a little baby pivot, and this is kind of in mental game. Mental game.
Good. Boop.
So you said why you felt that Zane was so good, right? We talked about that at Genesis. Remember, I was saying Rishi told me, and then you kind of came in and you said it. Do you remember what it was?
He's like a. I want to see if I can tie this to some other field. Well, I think he's like I think he just finds like a thing. Well, okay, the way he does it basically is he's like, I have an idea for a new technique that I want to incorporate. And he just spams it.
Spams it.
He spams it. He's like, I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to try to power shield up tilt. And he makes it very obvious. He's just crouching there. He does the power shield up tilt. And he does it until he's so good at it, he gets it every single time. And he gets it until it's so second nature. And then he incorporates it into his gameplay and makes it so it's no longer a meme. Mm-hmm. While he's practicing it and he's doing it to you in friendlies, you feel like he's memeing. You actually feel like you're fucking around. But then, before you know it, he's doing it in good situations in tournament. And he's able to do that because he's incorporated it fully into his muscle memory from messing around in friendlies.
He's like building one brick at a time.
Building one brick at a time. It's a really good brick. And it's like while he's doing it, you feel like he's joking. You feel like he's playing around. I think West Balls is another player that did this when he was getting good.
Yeah.
West Balls, you've ever seen him just kind of, he'll spam the same option over and over, but he's really, really good at it. And then it's like now he can do it when he needs it.
Yeah.
So Zane's kind of like that, but like at a slightly higher level.
So I have this feeling about Zane.
Yeah.
Where, and it ties into that kind of, but it's, what he's building and the way that he's building it, I sense from him an acceptance of who he is and where he is. I feel that Zane accepts himself. When he loses, it hurts, but it doesn't cripple him. You know
it doesn't cripple him.
He's got some underlying sense of adequacy, and this doesn't feel very threatened.
It does seem that way with him, right? Yeah.
And when I think about the other gods, PPMD,
they all feel like they've got so far to fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel
Zane's still got the protagonist mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does.
Yeah.
He does.
I have a feeling, and Leffen is an interesting case because he's the guy who said that he was going to be the best and just made it true. You know, it wasn't quite the same where I felt like Armada kind of built brick by brick, but didn't want the structure wasn't so secure. Like when he lost, it was devastating.
Yeah. Armada's so devastated by loss.
It was devastating. And so I felt like his desire to win was fueled by something deep inside that was powerful, but uncontrolled. You know, anger, rage, hatred, the negative fuel, right? There's some serious negative fuel in there.
Fear.
And that can be broken. Yeah. But if you've got a Zayn thing going on, that is a structure. You can keep building up. You can keep building up.
Don't you get a sense talking to Zayn that don't you get a sense talking to him that he doesn't take it and himself so seriously?
Yeah.
Don't you get that sense?
Where does that come from?
Security, I guess, right? Security, I think.
It's the same with what we were talking about with Axe. Like I hope Axe had a great summit. I hope that he feels really good about, you know, himself, because when he's playing, I would love for him to not feel like his worth is on the line.
Is on the line.
It's not on the line. It's not on the line.
Actually, and you don't have to I want to talk about this.
Please do. This is so important.
This is very important. Okay, this is a very interesting paradox that I just realized. Okay, so it actually, logically speaking, you have less on the line if you've been around for a long time. Because you've been performing, if you've been performing at the top level for 10 years versus you've been performing at the top level for 2 years, you have much more legacy that lets you say, hey, I'm good. Obviously, I'm a really, really good player. Even if I lose one tournament, it's just a smaller ratio of your overall body of work, right? Axe does poorly at one tournament. That is a smaller percentage of his total tournaments that he did badly at. If Zayn does bad at one tournament, maybe that's like, it's like that's like 10% of his entire tournament resume or whatever, right? It's one bad tournament means more if you're Zayn. And yet, what we observe time and time again is the more old school a player is, actually, the more they feel like their legacy
is fragile.
Yeah. Which is a little bit nonsensical if you think about it in terms of percentages, but there's something going on here that I think we can flesh out.
And it's really important.
Because I think me and you probably feel the same way, even compared to our contemporaries in gameplay, which are like, okay, we're not placing top 8 anymore. But what? We're placing whatever, 65th, 97th. Humor me for a second here, Bobby.
Yeah, you're doing great. I'm lower than that.
But you see what I'm saying?
I see exactly what you're saying.
When I sit down and I play a guy, who did I have a close tournament set with in recent history? New York Joey. I beat New York Joey at Big House, not the most recent Big House, but the one before that. And I felt like I had more to lose than New York Joey. Is that actually true? Not really. But I felt like I did.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yes.
Right?
In the moment, you feel like you did, and it has to do with probably something bigger, right?
Right. Because you feel
let's go slow. Let's go slow.
Let's go slow.
So for one,
what's going on here?
There is the question of recontextualization. In other words, as new data comes in, you can use the new data to recontextualize what happened before.
Right.
Even though, like at the moment, no one knew what was going to happen next, so it's like the story changes. In other words, what we're talking about will be completely recontextualized by what happens at Summit.
Right.
You could see it from our perspective now, and you can also see it from our perspective after. One of the things that's really frustrating, and I think that this is where a lot of insecurity comes from, is that let's say we know what we're talking about, for sake of argument. Someone listening to us before Summit, generally they'll take our word for it if they don't know, if they're like scrubs, and they'll be like, all right, these guys probably know. Or if they actually know what they're talking about, then they'll be like, okay, they know what they're talking about, because I pretty much follow and I think similar things. And maybe they're wrong about this or that, but their fundamental thesis is like not bad. After Summit, if anything we said didn't actually bear out in Summit, then idiots can just say, oh, these guys were wrong and they don't know what they're talking about pretty much ever, because like, look at how stupid they are. Summit literally just happened, and look at Scar and Toph talking about this. Like, they're so wrong.
They're wrong,
And so it's when it's like, one of the things that I struggle with is, and I think we all do, is when people say stuff on the internet, do they know enough that they're not just saying something based on first impressions, that actually, level. That's not, in other words, what they're saying is not meaningful. They have not thought about it that bad, and so, when I read it, I don't need to consider whether it's meaningful. But usually it's all the stories that we're scared about. The one that I brought up, do we know what we're talking about? I'm more afraid about that than a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
You know, people thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't in some arenas, but it doesn't mean that as a whole I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's what I'm worried about.
Right.
So that underlying insecurity gets exploited, I think, when you're worried that something can happen that can recontextualize when you were actually good.
Yeah.
And now people call into question whether you were ever actually good, which, you know, maybe I have a question about in my own head deep down.
Got it. Okay, you think this is, and this ties into, like, you know, the question of a guy like Armada or a guy like Zayn.
Yeah.
Where a guy like Armada, so this goes all the way to the top, really, right? Where it's like the more...
Is your identity on the line?
Is your identity on the line, right? Which is sad, because it's not true. Your identity's not on the line. You feel like it is. Someone like Armada feels like it is, but it's not. Armada
less so than some other players, for sure, because, I mean, his mental game was incredible. I'm just saying very, very, very deep. You can sense very, very deep.
You know how much he was impacted by that Swedish loss. And he talked about it. You know how much he was impacted by that Swedish loss, where he was the guy that if you were not a god or Silent Spectre or whatever in 2010, you couldn't beat Armada. He was that guy. It was easier to upset HBOX than it was to upset Armada. And he dropped a set to Swedish Delight, and I think that shook a very core part of his identity, and I think that's hard to handle.
You start asking a question.
You start asking questions that you shouldn't be asking if you're a...
Who am I?
Who am I?
More on that later.
Yes.
But for Zayn, for whatever reason...
Zayn doesn't have that. He doesn't have all that built up. You know what it is? It's baggage. It's baggage. It's overhead. It's baggage, right? It's like you feel like you've got something that you got to throw that stuff away, but no one can throw that stuff away. And I almost feel like...
that, I think, is this era. Seriously, I'm not kidding. 2020, and I want us to be a part of this. I want us to all, you who are watching and who care too, I want us to lead this. I want this to be an era of spirituality and of acceptance. I really want to do, and maybe we should just do it today. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
A melee meditation. Like, maybe we should actually just do a 30-minute melee meditation. So, in other words, what I want to do... Because I want Mango to be able to do this when he sits at the setup. I want you to be able to do this when you sit at the setup. I want to be able to do this when I sit at the setup to play. I want to be able to forget everything.
Yes.
And allow myself to just be inside the screen.
The screen.
And to trust that on the inside of me, all of the stuff that I've experienced is just going to be expressed in its purest form. And then I'm going to see what I do, and I'm going to see how I react to situations, and I'm going to think about how I change based on that as the truth of where I am. In other words, like when I play, I have this idea of who I am that's outdated and wrong and bad.
Yep.
Like I should be winning in this situation. You shouldn't be doing that, right? This is all of that stuff is in my head, and I want us to be able to just sit down at the setup and feel secure in, you know, we're entitled to be here. We're here because we've earned it, and I don't give a shit about who. Is going to question whether you won legitimately or not. That's not what we're about anymore. We're about showing up at the setup and playing your best, because we now know, we've been through long enough to know that that is all that matters. You sit down at the setup, you play your best, and whoever plays better is the one who wins, and you really can't, you know what I'm saying? Yep. I don't want people to feel like Axe anymore. I don't want us as a community to feel like when we lose, it means anything more than that we didn't play better. I want that to be what 2020 is about.
No more I should have won. No shoulds. No more shoulds.
There is no should.
There is no
That's
should.
right.
Yeah.
Melee doesn't give a fuck about your shoulds.
That's right. And the beautiful part is when you lose, it doesn't matter that much. Because there's going to be more Melee.
But that would be so dope if it's like the era of the gods, the era of science, the era of spirituality. I think it's coming, dude.
I would love that.
I think the era of spirituality is coming. It's a return to our core. Right?
Yeah.
We're going inward. We went outward and we explored the game very, very deeply. The Hungry Boss question. We've come back and now we're going back inside ourselves. We're asking big questions. And I think that we can figure out the answers, because I really do believe that, you know, a lot of us feel a dope ass sense of community from Melee, and I know for a fact that if all society crumbled and people were infighting, I would say, all right, Melee homies, like, I won't attack you. Truce.
Yeah. Truce.
And I think it would stick.
I think it would stick.
That's important.
Yeah.
I'm not saying society is going to collapse, but if it did, just know I'll take you in.
Yeah.
Y'all come to me.
We'll have a little Melee tribe.
Y'all come to me and Toph.
Yeah.
We'll take care of each other, dude.
Yeah.
We don't need much.
We're gonna have a little shelter with canned food and
A couple setups.
setups. Yep.
It's not so bad.
It's gonna be great. Alex 19 protecting us from physical threats, dude.
Yeah.
And I wonder, we're talking about this, not letting the baggage get to you, not letting things that shouldn't matter affect your play. And I think Zane's very good at that.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't have baggage.
Or he seems to be able to deal with it, right?
Or he seems to be able to deal with it. But I do think there's a correlation. I think that, something I just want to mention is that people talk about in esports in general, people talk about how younger people have an advantage. And I have long felt like people talk about it, so people give their reasoning, and I think people usually say something along these lines. One, younger people their brains are more neuroplastic. Okay, maybe that's true to a certain degree, but I don't feel a meaningful difference. And when I tried to tech chase 10 years ago, I was bad at it. When I try to tech chase now, I'm bad at it. I don't feel a meaningful difference in my reaction time from 20-year-old Toph to 30-year-old Toph. 20-year-old Toph was not way better reacting than 30-year-old Toph. And I can still kind of do it if I've been practicing. So I don't really feel like my reaction time got that much worse. Okay. Yeah, I know there's some science to it, and I know that there to a large degree neuroplasticity is a thing.
And we're going to talk about that.
But I think it's overstated too. The second thing is why young people are considered better or whatever is because they have less going on in life. I think this is a bigger reason than one. I think that often as people get older, they develop different interests.
More responsibility.
More responsibilities for sure. You find love.
Got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills. And sometimes it's not even just even duties. Sometimes it's literally just you realize that now you're into other things. You've spent a long time playing this one video game, and sometimes it's as simple as, well, I want to spend some time playing this other video game. Well, that happens. But I think a major part of what's going on, why younger esports players are often better than older esports players, and you see this even in age gaps between like 18-year-old esports pros versus like 22-year-old esports pros, is I think they have no legacy and they have nothing to lose and they have nothing to prove, and they play like it. They don't have that accumulated baggage. You even see this in, like I was following Overwatch for a time. You even see this among Overwatch pros. That's a very young game. It's like what, 4 years old? I think it came out in 2016.
Yeah.
And you see it with Overwatch pros, where it's like the people that have been good since the very beginning. They have like this they have this like mental like, oh man, I've got to, like, I used to be so good, and if I don't perform at the level that like people used to expect, it's just like, and it's just it's, I think that's like one of the biggest reasons old school players tend to fall off, actually, now that we're talking about it. And I think no one really talks about this, but I really think it's that. I think it's people who feel like they have and they let it cloud their mentality.
I think discard it. You had neuroplasticity, time, and legacy.
Two is like, I guess neuroplasticity. Two is responsibility.
Like, stuff going on. Time.
Time. Sure. Oh, yeah.
Time and attention.
Attention. I like attention more, but yeah.
And legacy.
And legacy.
I think they're all related.
They're all related.
I think there's also a fourth, which is that game communities tend to players stand on the shoulders of giants, and it could be that my contribution to the game had to do with combos, and that gave me an edge, and I showed the way forward, and then people followed.
Totally.
And so what I do now no longer gives me an edge, and doing more of it does not get me further.
I see. So there's that too.
So there's something about like the thing that made you successful is not the thing that's going to keep you successful. That tends to be true.
That does tend to be true.
Unless if the thing that made you successful is a deep interconnection with the soul of the thing.
Right.
If you have a deep interconnection with the soul of Melee, you're going to be good. So anyway, but I think 1 and 3 are related, and here's why. And this is the thing that I'm talking about that I want us to work on. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is super important. This is going to be, I'm going to try to move Scar and Toph in this direction, and the Melee community. We're going to try to move all together. Okay. So neuroplasticity 100,000% is a thing. And you've heard the thing about grooves. So imagine our minds are a beautiful mountain with fresh powdery snow. And we ski down the mountain, or rocks fall down the mountain. As rocks fall down one direction, the snow is packed in there, and so more rocks will go into those gutters. And so the way that the paths that we tend to take, it becomes easier to take those paths. Does that make sense?
What do they call it? They called it thought loops.
Thought loops.
Thought loops.
Okay, so the challenge becomes how do you create new grooves and how do you get out of old grooves? But the thing about legacy in my mind, one of the things that I've noticed is as a child, in general, when you're approaching something new, you have no ego.
No ego.
It's almost like they call young people sponges. The information just goes right in. There's nothing fighting the information. There's nothing resisting the data coming in. Does that make sense so far? Now, think about when you play Melee and you do a bad habit. You do a thing that, you right? Or someone does some shit that tilts you. Think about the data coming in and what happens with the information. Think about, does it go right in?
No.
Not at all. It's like, what happens? When you get hit by a Falco up tilt, that was the stupidest up tilt.
You think about every time a Falco's ever up tilted you, flashes before your eyes.
You say, fuck this data.
Fuck this shit. Yeah, it's so dumb.
What we need to do, all of us, and Legacy makes it harder because it's not only about whether you reacted well or whether you followed your game plan or whatever it has to do with in the game. It has to do with, for me, I've been playing this game for 10 years and I'm still getting hit by this. And I will never be as good as I was if I keep getting hit. There's even more loops, there's more grooves that get activated. And all of those grooves, we're talking about attention, remove attention from what's actually going on. So I'm not collecting data from what's happening in the game. I'm just in a totally different world, right? So what we need to do is we need to be able to sit down and just look at the screen. We need to be able to sit down and allow ourselves to not worry about a single thing for however long that we're playing. That's what we need to do. Because if we're able to be in that mind state, the data will go right in. You'll get hit by Falco up tilt and it'll be like, huh, wait, what was I just doing?
Why did I,
It needs to be, the ball needs to roll down on fresh powder. You can't let those other, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're going to work on how to do
break
that.
Those
we're going to work on how to do that. I think we're going to take a break and maybe we'll, what are we going to do in the meantime? I want us to think about this Melee meditation.
I want us to
do it, dude.
I want us to do it. We'll probably do it. We might do it next Monday. If you're following the regular uploads. We might. And if you're not, maybe you should hit the subscribe button. Maybe. We actually might, maybe we will. All right, cool. So stick around. Summit probably was awesome. You had a good time. What else? What's coming up? Well, stay tuned for more of us in a week. Yeah. Peace.